In 2 or 3 weeks' time, Katie Taylor is going to be fighting Natasha Jonas. And I believe Natasha Jonas is going to win. Let me explain why. Let's look at Katie Taylor. Katie Taylor is an amateur fighter. Her style of boxing is amateur. Landing lots of punches in and out, speed. That's the amateur game. If you watch any amateur fight, it's the rapid fire shots to the head and then jumping back. When Katie Taylor transitioned to professional, she brought her amateur skills with her. And every fight that Katie Taylor has fought, with the exception maybe of Persoon's, all of her fights, they've been fought as if they were amateur fights. Now, I'm not insulting Taylor when I say this. Taylor is a brilliant amateur fighter. A brilliant amateur in the style of amateur fighting. Possibly the best in the world. She is incredibly fast. She is blisteringly fast. In fact, very often when I rewatch fights of Taylor's, you find yourself wondering if the film speed, the video speed has been interfered with. She's so fast. Now, when people watch Taylor and they marvel at her skill, in actual fact, what you're seeing is not skill. Well, you're seeing amateur skill. You're seeing incredible speed and rapid fire shots. You're not actually seeing skill. If you watch Katie Taylor's, any of her fights, and then you watch the Jonas Harper, you're talking almost two separate disciplines, two separate worlds. Jonas fights in the classic, what I would call the classic traditional style. And we saw in that Harper Jonas fight, the skill. It was a joy to watch. The skill, the technique, the cleverness, all of that, wonderful. You don't see that in Taylor's fights. What you see this blistering hand speed. You see her going in, coming out fast. You see her using the ring, which is very good at. But if you actually watch dispassionately, if you watch Katie Taylor fighting, you're not watching a professional fighter. She doesn't fight in the professional style. She never has. And a classic example of this, the simplest exemplar of this, is we've seen over and over again how Taylor she'd put her opponent under pressure. She'd be hitting her with lots of blows, especially to the face. She will wear her opponent down, and maybe in the 5th or 6th round, her opponent will be tired, bamboozled, or confused by the speed. So here she is, maybe in the 5th, 6th, 7th round, and she's got her opponent. And then what happens? Well, she can't take her opponent out. Why? Because she's boxing in the amateur style. What does Taylor do when she gets her opponent into trouble? Well, she dashes in and it's those rapid fire punches. And you don't take people out with those rapid fire punches. I think she's only ever got one opponent out in that way. I think it was a girl called Gentili. But, if you look at a professional boxer, they get their opponent into trouble, under pressure, and then it's their one, they'll stop. They'll take that step back. They'll think, and then they'll deliver what they hope will be the few killer punches. Now, of course, a lot of people are passionate about Katie Taylor, and we're all passionate about the fighters we think are best. That's natural. But looking at it objectively, Katie Taylor's style of fighting, or fighting mentality. It's not professional. It's fast, it's impressive, it's marvellous to watch. And she's very good at it, but it's an amateur style of boxing. One last thing I would say, Taylor is a very predictable fighter. I know what Taylor is going to do in her fight, and you know what she's going to do, because she does it in every fight. It'll be the rapid fire stuff, it'll be the quick jab, fighting on the outside, and then dashing in. The quick dash in and dash out. That's what she'll do, because she does it in every fight. So we leave Taylor there and now come to Jonas. Jonas's professional career was, up until recently, it wasn't very impressive. Most of her professional fights were all right, but they were nothing special. And then in the middle of it, of course, you had this Obanov disaster. And that doesn't really count, because it was so bad, it was just so freakishly bad that it was an aberration. Now, when Jonas went in with Terry Harper, she knew what she was up against. She knew what she was up against, if you like, a good classic style boxer. And Jonas did one thing when she got into the ring here. People talk about people getting behind their jab, which of course is a classic boxing style. Jonas got behind her skill. The one thing that comes out of that fight is that Jonas was unemotional. She was calm. She was literally fighting behind that skill. She was driven by that skill. Harper, on the other hand, got rattled several times. She got worried, and you could see it. Jonas remained composed. It was a wonderful display of classic, skillful boxing. She didn't break out of that pattern. She remained in control of herself, what she was doing all the time. Now, a lot of people are saying, of course, that Jonas is going to lose. And most people seem to think that if she has any chance of winning, that she has to fight like Pursuans. She has to put Taylor under pressure and chase her around the ring. Now, I think this is the one thing that she should not do. If I was in Jonas's corner, I would say, go out there, take the centre of the ring, and let Taylor come to you. Don't chase her, don't follow her, don't try and put her under pressure. Let her come to you. And I think, as I said, Taylor's very predictable. And she has that thing of dashing in, delivering a couple of rapid fire punches and dashing out. And I think Jonas is going to catch her. I think Jonas is going to win there. She's going to fight in a very similar fashion to how she fighted against Harper. She's going to get behind her skill. Taylor will score points with her speed. Jonas, I think, will score less points, but they'll be better. And I think Jonas will time her. She'll time that dash in that Taylor has. She's on the outside and then suddenly bang, she's in. I think Jonas will time her. She'll time her 1 round, time her 2 rounds, time her 3 rounds, maybe 4 rounds. And when she feels she's got the timing right, I think she'll take her out. Jonas is a hard puncher. She's a hard jabber. Now, if Jonas catches Taylor when she's coming in to do one of her fast dashes, if Jonas catches her, the power of Jonas and the momentum of Taylor coming forward, if Jonas catches her, Taylor's going to go down, probably unconscious or semi-unconscious. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think Natasha Jonas is going to use power and timing. I think she's going to time Taylor, and then I think she's going to catch her. So, take Jonas to win by knockout. I don't think that Katie Taylor has a hope in hell against Jonas. Jonas is just now reaching her peak. She's just now reaching the sweet point. I think Jonas is going to be magnificent when she gets into that ring with Taylor. She's going to use all the skill we saw in the Harper fight. And she's going to be a little bit more mature, maybe a little bit more conservative, a little bit more cautious. But I don't think Taylor has a hope in hell. I think Jonas is simply a better boxer. She's a boxer at the height of her power now, as I said, the sweet point. And it's all skill. It's that classic professional boxing thing and the skill. And I think Jonas is going to go in there, stay behind her skill. I think she will be confident. I think she'll be relaxed. And I think she'll catch Taylor. So, Jonas to win by KO. And I think there's a good chance that knockout might come early. I have a feeling this fight maybe might end in the 5th, 6th round. So, that's my prediction. Natasha Jonas to win by knockout. Early knockout rather than late.